Hey guys, this is going to be a pretty quick video for you, but I wanted to talk about realities and the fact that, many of us at some point or another, possibly numerous times along our journey, really come across this feeling of, I just don't want to be here in this 3D world anymore. I want to go back to 5D, 6D, 7D, whatever it is that there's a part of you that consciously remembers that. And I remember I even had a client once a few years ago who said to me, Nicole, I just don't like this. I don't know. I can't possibly believe that I chose this for myself. I can't possibly believe that I signed up for this. She goes, I can't stand pooping. I'm like, what? She goes, I can't stand pooping. It's not normal. This is not the way I want to live. And, oftentimes we want to escape our reality in some way, shape, or form, whether it's a certain reality of the dimension or it's our own personal circumstances of what we're going through in our life at that time. You could be going through a very heavy time in your journey, a dark night of the soul. And the reality is that we really cannot escape our reality. That's not how you move through it. It's the same as, you can't run away from your fears. You can't run away from your pain. You can't run away from your past. It all catches up with you at some point. It will outrun you if you try. I promise you. So it's important to remember that there is no escaping this reality. However, you can transmute, you can transcend, I should say. You can transcend this reality through your own personal alchemy into a higher dimension, okay, whatever that might be for you. Or you could transcend it into a higher timeline. So how do we do that? Because I think even from the video that I put out, the one we shall not name right now, there were a lot of comments in there that were asking me to perhaps share how I raise my frequency and to kind of take you through it. And just as a total sidebar here right now, let me know in the comments below if that's something you'd be interested in, regardless if it's the same situation as me or just your own life, okay? Whatever you're going through, you want to transcend something, you want to transmute, whatever it could be. Let me know, because I'm thinking of possibly doing like a workshop that will take you guys through it on like a Zoom call or something. So when it comes to transcending your reality, you do have to go back into your past somewhat. You don't have to sit there. You don't have to wallow in your past, but you have to acknowledge it. You have to acknowledge it and know what was there in order to move beyond it. You need to know what your pain is. You need to know what you've been suffering from. You need to know what all the programs are that are unconsciously continuing to create the reality you don't want. So when it comes to transcending it, when you start to go into the healing aspect and you start getting really comfortable with your own darkness, okay, with the shadow aspects that you've been perhaps avoiding or running away from, then what happens is something really beautiful happens in that moment, that you start to, through the comfort that you're creating by being there, because now you're getting acquainted with it. It's not so unknown to you. It's not so it's like it's like the boogeyman or something. The monster under the bed. You just don't want to look and pretend it's not there. You're not doing that anymore. And through the non-avoidance, okay, by facing it head on, what you're doing is you're now creating a frequency where you're going to start to actually embrace yourself more. You're going to start to understand why you've done the things you've done, why you make certain choices, why you keep choosing this relationship instead of the one you ultimately deserve. Like little things like that, or why you keep finding yourself in a situation where you don't have enough money and no matter what you try. So whatever it might be in your life that's going on, it's important to know that once you start embracing that part of you, you actually start to like yourself more. And when you start to actually like yourself on not just a conscious level, but subconsciously, because you're starting to heal those aspects and you start to appreciate them, you start to understand the value of your own darkness and the pain and the suffering that is now getting transmuted into wisdom. And through that wisdom, you start acting from that place, and you're consciously embodying the light. Well, once you consciously embody the light, you project yourself instantaneously into a new dimension or a different dimension or a newer timeline. It's instantaneous because you are embodying that light, that higher consciousness, not just in your awareness, but you're living it. The healing is part of the living it. And that's why I'm such a huge proponent of the healing work here. It's so important. We all have to be doing it. So it's not about escaping a reality. It's about completely transcending it through getting really comfortable with your own shit that you don't want to be comfortable with, really looking at it, getting up close and personal with it. And then through that acknowledgement and willingness to face it, you're already shifting frequencies. Listen, when it comes to the consciousness scale, willingness, I think, is at 300 or 310. So when you're already at that willingness state, you're already raising your frequency. You're already raising your levels of consciousness. So just by being willing to look at it is already a huge step. But then while you start to look at it, that's where the transmutation starts to happen. That's where the beautiful alchemy is. That's where all the magic happens, because all of a sudden you're starting to shift your whole perception of everything. And when you start to shift your perception of everything, you start to shift your perception of you. And it usually, almost always, is shifting in towards a much more loving state of yourself. And this is ultimately what allows you to hold that light, which just instantly projects you into a newer timeline. You don't even have to think about it. You don't even have to try. You're already doing it through the healing. It's just a bit of a process, but it's doing the work that kind of we avoid that's so necessary. So remember, you can't escape the reality. It's not about you trying to leave 3D behind and go beyond, because the 3D is very important. We're learning a lot of co-creation skills here in 3D through the polarities. We need that. We have to understand it at a very intimate level of this whole 3D process. But through the intimate process of living in 3D, you're then able to take those skills and co-create in much more intense and beautiful ways. Really magically being able to project just even your own thoughts, what your own desires are, into your reality much more quickly. All right, guys. So that wasn't as short as I thought it was going to be. All right. Well, I love you guys so much. I hope you're going to have a wonderful weekend, and we're getting up to the holidays. Of course, if you haven't already, please check out the podcast with Rebecca. That was on Tuesday. She shared some new information of her disclosures, and it was also a very enlightening conversation. Really good. Rebecca always brings good energy. And of course, this Tuesday, I have Consuelo coming on the podcast for the 1221 portal. So I am looking forward to seeing you guys there. Guys, have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy that full moon in Gemini, which, is going to be bringing a lot of downloads with that galactic the galactic sun integration of that full moon in Gemini is moving across the galactic center. So at 27 degrees Sag. So we're going to probably get a lot of downloads. So be prepared for that on the 18th, 19th. All right, guys, have a wonderful weekend, and I'll be back with you guys really soon.